us by surprise. That was not something that we saw coming. They called us, and it happened very fast and happened not too long ago. So still working through all roster type of things. I always have to be mindful of our players and our players' development, and I want to make sure that I'm always doing what's best for our players and, of course, our team. But, with young players, I'm always thinking about last week making the change to Dillon. You have to think long and hard about that, because these are young players that you're so invested in their development. So I'll let the week play out and make a decision later on that.
Not an immediate endorsement of Shedeur as the number 2 quarterback. Bailey Zappi, I believe, is on the practice squad and would have to be elevated to the...
Don't skip a single second of this video. And if this story touches your heart, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Let's begin. You know what drives me crazy? It's not the interceptions. It's not the blown assignments. It's not even the penalties. What really drives me up the wall is when a head coach looks a room full of reporters dead in the eye and refuses to give a straight answer about something as basic as who his number 2 quarterback is. That's not strategy. That's not keeping it close to the vest. That's hesitation. That's weakness. And when Kevin Stefanski stood up there and danced around the question about Shedeur Sanders, it sent shockwaves through Cleveland, through the locker room, and honestly across the entire AFC North. Think about it for a second. Backup quarterback, QB2. This isn't asking who's calling plays in the red zone or what blitz packages you're running against Lamar Jackson. This is as straightforward as it gets. Is Shedeur Sanders the guy you trust if your starter goes down? Yes or no? That's it. Instead, we got to ramble about development, about roster flexibility, about letting the week play out. Come on, man. Fans aren't dumb. Players aren't dumb. Everyone watching knew exactly what just happened. Stefanski didn't believe in his rookie quarterback enough to back him publicly. And here's why that matters. Every locker room in the NFL runs on trust. Guys want to know where they stand. If you can't even look the cameras in the eye and say, yeah, Shedeur is our QB2, what do you think that does to the kid? What do you think it does to the veterans in that room who have already heard the noise, already seen the headlines, already know the Bengals are sniffing around? It sends one message loud and clear. Our coach doesn't trust our young quarterback. And when the coach doesn't trust you, the players start asking why they should. Now let's flip it around. Imagine being Shedeur Sanders in that moment. You're sitting at home, watching the clip, hearing your head coach stumble through a non-answer. You've been grinding since camp, learning the system, trying to earn your spot, and instead of confidence, instead of support, you get hesitation. That's a gut punch. That's disrespect. And if you think guys like Joe Burrow and the Bengals aren't watching that with a grin on their face, you're kidding yourself. This is rivalry fuel. This is the kind of indecision that flips divisions. Because here's the truth. In the NFL, indecision is blood in the water. The Bengals are circling, other teams are circling, and every time Stefanski ducks a simple question, he's not protecting Shedeur. He's exposing him. He's leaving the door wide open for doubt, for speculation, for trade rumors, for everything except stability. And stability is the one thing a young quarterback desperately needs. This wasn't just coach speak. This was a massive red flag. It told us Shedeur doesn't have Stefanski's public trust. It told us the Browns are already second-guessing their depth chart. And it told the Bengals there's an opportunity to pounce. And if you don't think that moment matters, if you don't think a single hesitation in a press conference can shift the energy of a season, you haven't been paying attention to how fragile confidence is in this league. The moment Stefanski hesitated, the Browns lost control of the narrative. And now the question isn't just about Shedeur Sanders' readiness. It's about whether the Browns themselves even know what they're doing. Where does Shedeur really stand in Cleveland? I'll tell you where he stands. On the edge of a line the Browns can't seem to draw, and that's the problem. Depth charts are supposed to be clear. QB1, QB2, next man up. But with Shedeur Sanders, the conversation keeps getting foggy, political, and frankly disrespectful. You don't draft a kid with that pedigree, that spotlight, that arm talent, and then publicly waffle about whether he's even ahead of a journeyman elevation or a practice squad Band-Aid. That's not development. That's a message. And the message is ugly. Let's be honest. The minute Dylan Gabriel's name got floated as the change and Bailey Zapp's name even entered the chat, it told me all I needed to know about trust. If a staff is truly invested in a young quarterback, they stack reps, they declare his lane, and they ride out the bumps. But Cleveland is playing musical chairs. Gabriel gets the nod for a spark. Zappe's a possible emergency plug. And Shedeur? He's the headline without the microphone, the brand without the snaps. The rookie being asked to wait behind guys who don't carry half his ceiling. Even being mentioned behind them is insulting. Not because those guys can't play, but because it erases what Shedeur brings before he's allowed to show it. This is bigger than who's the backup this week. It's identity. Shedeur is more than a last-minute clipboard. He comes in with an NFL-ready release when he's on rhythm, comfort living in the shotgun, eyes downfield, and the swagger to attack seams. He's grown up around the game. He understands the media, the heat, the expectations. That stuff matters in Cleveland because Cleveland eats quarterbacks alive if you don't have an identity. And right now, the organization is telling us his identity is third option if everything else collapses. That's not evaluation. That's fear. Trust is the real stat here. Forget passer rating for a second. Trust is the metric. Does Stefanski trust Shedeur to protect the call sheet? To run the hots? To hit boundary outs? To live to play 2nd and 7 instead of forcing something stupid? If the answer is no, then say it and explain why. Footwork? Install retention? Timing on digs? Because hiding behind, we're letting the week play out, makes it sound like the staff is scared of the moment, not the player. And the locker room feels that. Receivers feel it. Offensive linemen feel it. They want to know who talks in the huddle if things go sideways on Sunday. Here's the part that makes me dig my heels in as a fan. Shedeur didn't ask for the noise. The noise found him. He was born into it. Pedigree is a blessing and a bullseye. And somehow the Browns are leaning into the bullseye while pretending the blessing doesn't exist. If he were any other fifth rounder with a clean preseason, we'd call him a developmental stash and shut up about it. But because he's Shedeur, we nitpick the brand and ignore the ball. Meanwhile, the kid's upside is the very thing this franchise has begged for. Quick processing when protected, the ability to layer throws, and the confidence to own a 2-minute drill. You can coach timing, you can coach protections, you cannot coach poise when the world is staring. He already has that. And say it with me. Clarity helps development. If Shedeur is QB2, declare it. If he's QB3 today with a roadmap to QB2 by week 10, declare that too. Give him the runway. Give the room the plan. Because every snap you hand to a temp solution is a snap that doesn't build your future. If the Browns believe in their own draft board, that board should speak now. So where does he stand? Right in the middle of a credibility test. For the coach, for the front office, for the logo. Either Cleveland believes its evaluation and backs the kid, or it keeps hedging until a rival calls their bluff. And if that rival is already circling, then the next question isn't just about depth charts. It's about what happens when the critics smell blood and whether Shedeur is ready to face them head on. The critics are circling, and let's be real, this is where the knives come out. The second Shedeur Sanders stumbled in preseason, people couldn't wait to slap that not ready label on him. They pointed to the incompletions, the shaky timing, the hesitations in the pocket, and said, see, he's not NFL material. But hold on a second. Since when did we crown or bury a quarterback off of vanilla preseason snaps, thrown with third-string receivers against defenders fighting for roster spots? Preseason isn't real football. It's dress rehearsal chaos. Yet somehow, the narrative stuck, and Shedeur got painted as a kid who couldn't handle it. Then came the whispers. He doesn't know the playbook. That's the one that drives me nuts. If you've watched this kid at Colorado, you know he's processed far more complex systems than people give him credit for. He's been calling protections, reading coverages, and running pro concepts since college. So when analysts imply he's too slow to pick up an NFL playbook, I don't buy it. That's not football critique. That's lazy speculation. And when the narrative shifts from maybe he needs time to he should have been cut, now we're talking about perception, not performance. And let's address the elephant in the room. Some people say Shedeur is only still on the roster because of politics, because he's Deion Sanders' son, because Jimmy Haslam loves the spotlight, because the brand sells jerseys. You hear those whispers and you realize Shedeur isn't just battling defenses, he's battling agendas. And the worst part? That shadow follows him onto the field no matter how he plays. If he throws a dime, it's, well, of course he's Prime's kid. If he throws a pick, it's, see, he doesn't belong. It's a lose-lose unless he's perfect, and perfection doesn't exist in this league. Now, I've got to say something uncomfortable. There's a double standard at play. We've watched Jordan Love sit for years before touching the field. Patrick Mahomes didn't start until late in his rookie year. Even Steve McNair had to wait his turn. Nobody was calling them immature or questioning if they belonged. But Shedeur, one rough preseason game, one vague Stefanski quote, and suddenly he's a bust? That's not football logic. That's the microscope black quarterbacks get put under time and time again. It's a different leash, shorter, harsher, less forgiving. And whether people want to admit it or not, it matters. So here's the reality. Shedeur Sanders isn't just fighting for a role in Cleveland. He's fighting the critics who want to see him fail, the analysts who don't believe, and the system that judges him before he's had a real chance to play. That's pressure. That's heavy. And yet that's also the kind of crucible that can create something special. Because when the critics are circling, you've got two choices: fold under it or sharpen your edge until you cut through every single doubt. And if Shedeur does that, the very same people bearing him today will be the ones calling him a star tomorrow. But the question now, the question Cleveland has to answer, is simple. Will they give him the reps to prove it, or let the critics write the story for him? Let's be honest, for all the noise, all the criticism, all the hesitation from Stefanski, there's still a very real chance this story flips on its head. Because if Shedeur Sanders is given the right time, the right development, and the right situation, we could be looking at the beginning of something special. That's not hyperbole, that's history. We've seen this script before. Patrick Mahomes didn't start right away. He sat behind Alex Smith for a year, learned Andy Reid's system, and when his time came, boom. He lit the league on fire. Jordan Love was buried for years in Green Bay. Fans called him a wasted pick. And now he looks like the guy who might carry the Packers for the next decade. Steve McNair was drafted top 5 and still had to wait. Nobody panicked. Nobody wrote him off. They let him grow, and when he finally stepped in, he was ready to drag a franchise onto his shoulders. So why can't Shedeur follow that same path? Why can't the Browns, or maybe another team, play the long game here? What if Stefanski isn't disrespecting him, but protecting him? Think about it. Cleveland's offensive line has been a revolving door. Their play calling has been predictable at best. Throwing Shedeur out there too early could be career suicide. We've seen young quarterbacks thrown to the wolves, forced into impossible situations, and never recover. David Carr, Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, the scars stick. Maybe Stefanski knows that, and maybe his hesitation isn't about doubt. Maybe it's about patience. And imagine this: Shedeur Sanders getting time to sit, to learn, to master the playbook without carrying the weight of the city yet. Imagine him running scout team against NFL defenses every week, getting sharper, faster, tougher. Imagine the Bengals watching all this unfold, knowing that if the Browns don't believe, they could swoop in and let Shedeur learn behind Joe Burrow. No pressure, no spotlight, just time. That's not just development, that's incubation. And if that happens, if Shedeur gets the same kind of incubation Mahomes got, the same patience Love got, we're talking about a quarterback who could completely change the AFC North rivalry for years. This is the breakthrough waiting to happen. Not today, maybe not even this season, but down the line. Because Shedeur isn't just a name, he's got the release, the arm talent, the swagger, and most importantly, the mental makeup to take the heat. He's been in the spotlight since he was a teenager. He's been living under expectations most rookies never face. That doesn't crush him. It sharpens him. And if the Browns can't see that, if they can't protect that, somebody else will. The AFC North is already stacked. Burrow, Lamar, even Pittsburgh trying to steady their quarterback room. Add a fully developed Shedeur Sanders into that mix, and suddenly we're talking about one of the most explosive quarterback divisions in NFL history. It's not a fantasy, it's a possibility. The real question is, does Cleveland have the vision to nurture that possibility, or will they let him walk right into the hands of their rivals? Because one way or another, Shedeur's breakthrough is coming, and when it does, it's going to change everything. Here's the truth that Cleveland fans don't want to face. This story is going to end one of two ways. Either the Browns waste Shedeur Sanders' rookie year, bearing him under doubt and hesitation until his confidence takes a hit they can't repair, or he stays patient, keeps his head down, and when the curtain finally lifts, he explodes onto the scene as the quarterback this franchise has been begging for. There is no in-between. That's the razor's edge we're on right now. And the irony is so thick you can cut it with a knife, because the Bengals are sitting right there, watching, waiting. The same division rival that's torched you for years with Joe Burrow could be the very team to swoop in and give Shedeur the clarity and support he isn't getting in Cleveland. Can you imagine that? The Browns drafting him, keeping him on ice, never backing him publicly, only for him to walk across the border into Cincinnati and become the very player who haunts you for a decade. That would be the most Browns ending possible. And if you think that's impossible, you haven't been watching this franchise's history. They've made careers for other people's quarterbacks by mishandling their own. And that's what makes this prediction so bold but so real. Shedeur Sanders will succeed. He will. I don't even hesitate saying it. The only question, the only drama left, is where. Will it be in Cleveland, with Stefanski finally trusting his instincts, planting a flag and saying, "This is our guy, this is our future"? Or will it be in Cincinnati, under the wing of Joe Burrow, where he can sit, learn, and eventually rise as the Browns' worst nightmare? Here's what I see. Shedeur's story isn't about hype, it's about timing. The Browns want to protect him? Fine, but there's a difference between protection and paralysis. Keep him locked up too long, and the league will move without him. Give him the right moment, the right scheme, and the right trust, and you're going to see a kid who plays with fire in his chest and a chip on his shoulder the size of the AFC North. So here's my prediction. One way or another, Shedeur Sanders is going to flip this division, either as the Browns' savior or as the Browns' curse. And if history has taught us anything, if Cleveland keeps dragging their feet, they'll regret it, not just for a season, for years. Because this isn't just about football. This is about identity. This is about respect. This is about a young quarterback who's already proven he can handle pressure off the field. Now all he needs is a chance to prove it on the field. And when that chance comes, mark my words, Shedeur Sanders is going to make somebody very, very glad they believed in him. The only mystery left is simple. Will it be Cleveland celebrating that decision or Cincinnati laughing in their face?